All right, welcome to Monday 10.4 Descriptive Measures. Today we're focusing on four main things. We are focusing on range, mean, median, and mode. These are all ways we can describe a set of data. Now today I'm just going to give you numbers and you are going to have no reference for where they come from, but in the future you guys will be doing some of your own data collection. So for example, we may have asked people how many pets they have in their home. Okay, and these were their answers. And so we can find different numbers to represent that data. Instead of saying, well, this is the answer I got from everyone, we can use words like, well, the range of that data is, or the mean of that data, and we can draw conclusions based on that. And so again, today I'm just going to be giving you straight data. You'll have no reference from where it came from, but in the future, you guys will collect some of your own data. Okay, so we'll go through each of these definitions and then we'll talk about how we can find the range, mean, median, and mode of this set of data. So first of all, the range is the difference between the greatest score and smallest score. Mean is the sum of scores divided by the quantity of scores. Median is the middle score or average of two middle scores. We'll talk about that later. And then a mode is the score that occurs most frequently in a set of data. And a set of data may have more than one or even no mode if no score repeats. So, first thing, whenever we're using these descriptive measures, is we want to order the numbers least to greatest. And this first one, I did order them for you. From now on, they will not be ordered. Okay, so before you start anything, you need to order them least to greatest. Now, range is the difference between the greatest and the smallest. So the greatest number here is 12, right? They're ordered least to greatest, so it's pretty easy. And the smallest is 1. Difference means what? Subtraction. So 12 minus 1 is 11. So the range of this data set is 11. All right, let's move to median. Or mean, excuse me. Mean is the sum of scores. Sum means what? Adding. So we add the scores and divide by the quantity or number of scores. So let's start. We're going to start by adding these up. Sum of scores, okay? So we can do some of this mentally. We might write it down by the end. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 8 or excuse me, 8 plus 4, my word. Okay, 8 plus 4 is 12. 12 plus 5 is 17. 17 plus 6 is 23. 23 plus 9 is 32. 32 plus 10 is 42. And 42 plus 12, you can write it out if you need to. What do we get when we add those up? We get 54, right? So that is not the mean. 54 is not the mean. It's just what we need to do to get there. Now we divide by the quantity of scores. So how many total scores are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 scores. So we're going to take 54 and divide by the number of scores. So sum of scores divided by the quantity or number of scores, 54 divided by 9, and we get what? We should get 6. So the mean, and sometimes you can add this word in here, sometimes we use the word average. The mean or the average is 6. Okay? Now we move to median, and that means middle score. One way to remember median is in the middle of a road. Sometimes they kind of have that cement built up, and we call that the median. It's in the middle of the road. So we want to find the middle score. Now, some students say, well, didn't we just do that in mean? We want to find the actual middle score. So when they're lined up least to greatest, which score is in the middle? So one of the easiest ways to do this is just to mark them off until we find the middle. So we'll get rid of the lowest. Maybe I'll use a lighter color so we can still see these. So let's say we mark off the lowest score and the highest score, and the lowest score and the highest score, and the lowest score and the highest score, and the lowest score and the highest score. And let's double check. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers on this side and 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers on this side. So the middle score is 5. Or the median. Notice here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers. So we only have one median. Now if we look at a number like 4, there is no one middle number, there's actually 2, right? The 2 in the middle, and then here you see that they have to be averaged, and we'll talk about that later. Since this is an odd number, 9 is an odd number, there's 4 on this side and 4 on this side, and there is one median, and that's our answer. And we'll look at other examples that'll help us see more what I'm talking about. Lastly, mode is the score that occurs most frequently in a set of data. Do you see a score that occurs most frequently? The only number I see repeated up here is 4. There are 2 4s, so our answer for mode is 4. So the range is 11, the mean is 6, the median is 5, and the mode is 4. All right, let's come down here and let's try example 2. We've been given another data set. Again, the first thing we need to do is order the data set. Notice it has not been ordered here. So we're going to do that least to greatest. So I look for the smallest number. I see a 10 and I see another 10. And I just cross them off so I don't forget any. So I have the 2 10s pulled down here. The next smallest I see is 12 and 12. And I'll bring both of them down here. If they're listed twice, we list them twice. And then 13 is the next smallest. Then 14, then 16, and then 19. Okay, so I've got them ordered least to greatest. Now I'm ready to find my range. If you need to look back at those definitions, do that. The range is the difference between the largest and smallest. So the largest is 19, smallest is 10. 19 minus 10 is 9. Our range is 9. Moving to our mean. Our mean is where we sum the scores and divide by the quantity of scores. So let's do some of it mentally and we'll do some of it off to the side. So let's start just using mental. 10 and 10 give us 20, okay? Let's write that number off over here, 20. So we have 10 and 10 already covered. 12 and 12 give us 24. And then let's just bring over 13, 14, 16, and 19. We could probably save a little bit of time if we did some of those mentally, like 14 and 16. I think we could add those up, but we'll just write them all out. Now be careful that you don't make any mistakes here. It's easy to do, so take your time. 0 and 4 give us 4. 4 and 3 give us 7. 7 and 4 give us 11. 11 and 6 give us 17. And 17 and 9 give us 26. 2, 2, and 2 give us 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we get out 106. Okay, that's the sum of the scores. Now remember, that's not the mean, that's just the sum of the scores. We have to divide by the quantity. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 scores. So we're going to have to take this and divide by 8. And we'll write that in here so you guys can see it. 106 divided by 8. Let's write out our division box. I'm just going to come down here and do it. Eight goes into 10 how many times? Once, and 1 times 8 is 8. We subtract, we're left with 2. We bring the 6 down. 8 goes into 26 3 times. 8 times 3 is 24. Oh no, it's not going to go in evenly. Is that okay? Yeah, and in all of our problems today, we're just going to round to the nearest whole number. Now, you can't just round it, right? You need that determining digit. So first of all, 26 minus 24 is 2. Now, remember, we want to keep dividing, so we want to add a decimal point and a 0, right? Because 106.0 means the same thing as just 106. And we'll move that decimal point up into our answer. We'll bring our 0 down. 8 goes into 20 twice, and 8 times 2 is 16, and we can stop now, right? So we have 13.2, and I said today we'll be rounding all of them to the nearest whole number. So pulling 13.2 over the nearest whole number means we're rounding the ones digit. We look to the right, and the 2 tells us to do what? there's a decimal point in there. It tells us to stay the same. So our mean is 13. And we'll come back up here, and if you want to, you can use that wavy equal sign, which just means approximately, because it's not exactly 13, okay? And that's our mean. Now, moving to the median is that middle score. So we know that we already counted up 8 scores, and we'll cross it off. So let me bring in my lighter colored pencil here. Low, high, low, high, low, high. So we have 3 numbers crossed off over here and 3 up here. Now we have 2 in the middle, which should be expected because we said there were 8 numbers, right? Which means that there's going to be 2 left here once we cross these off. Now, do you give both 12 and 13 for the median? No. It says average of 2 middle scores. So if you have 2 middle scores, you need to average them. All right? Well, to average them, that's the same thing as mean, okay? To find the average, we add them up, right? Sum of the scores, and divide by the number of the scores. So coming off over to somewhere, let's see, where can we do this? We'll do it down here. So we have 12 and 13. We find the sum of the scores, and we get what? 25. 25, and how many? We're going to divide by the number of scores now. How many scores were there? 2, right? And this is always the same. When you're finding median, there's always going to be 2 scores if you have to average it. Before, we didn't have to because there was only 1. All right, coming back down here. 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 5 twice. Okay, 2 times 2 is 4. I subtract, I'm left with 1. Now I can't stop. I add a decimal point and a 0. And 2 goes into 10 5 times, and I get 12.5. Now you might be tempted to round it because we rounded our mean, and for the mean we should round, okay? But for the median we want it to be exact. So I'm going to write no rounding, or no rounding. There we go, we'll fit it. No rounding, okay? So the median here is 12.5. And you might say, is this always the case, rounding and not rounding? The not rounding will always be the case on the median, and in our homework we'll always round the mean if it doesn't come out evenly. In future classes, you may or may not round them like we are doing here, but just know for today and for this class, we will be rounding them to whole numbers if they come out as decimals. Moving to the mode. The mode, remember, is the one that occurs the most. Now you see 2 10s and you see 2 12s. Are there any other repeats? So what is our mode, 10 or 12? Well, if we look back up here at the definition, it said a score that occurs most frequently, and it says a set of data may have more than 1. So coming down here, our mode is actually 10 and 12, and we have our answer. And just because the score repeats doesn't mean it's the mode, it's the one that repeats the most. So if there was a third 10 here, then 10 would be the only mode because it repeats the most. But these two have tied, they both have 2, so they're both our modes. All right, we have one final example to look at, and that is example 3. So again, the first thing you need to do is order these numbers least to greatest. So the smallest number I see here is 17. The next smallest I see is 21, then 25, then 28, then 31, then 33, then 34. Okay, so now they're ordered least to greatest. Range is the first thing I'm going to do. It's the greatest, and then we subtract the smallest from it, so 34 minus 17. We might have to do this off to the side because it looks like we're going to have to borrow. We can't do 4 minus 7, so we come over to the 3. 14 minus 7 is 7. 2 minus 1 is 1. So the range of these scores is 17. Now we're going to find the mean, which means we need to add them up. So let's go ahead and jump in and do that. Let me find a good spot to do. We'll do it right here. So we'll do 17, 21, 25, 28, 31, 33, 34. Yikes, I'm cutting it close here. Okay, so 7 and 1 give me 8. 8 and 5 give me 13. 13 and 8 give me 21. 21 and 1 give me 22. 22 and 3 give me 25. And 25 and 4 give me 29. And I'll just box this so we don't get infringed by that problem down there. 2 and 1 give me 3. 3 and 2 give me 5. 5 and 2 give me 7. 7 and 2 give me 9. And then we have these 3s down here. So 9 and 3 give me 12, 15, 18. So 189. That is not the mean. That's just the sum of scores. We need to divide by the number of scores. Well, how many scores are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to take 189, the sum of the scores, and divide by the number of scores. 7. 7 goes into 18 twice. 2 times 7 is 14. We subtract, we're left with 4. We bring the 9 down. 7 goes into 49 7 times. So it comes out evenly. So our mean is 27. Moving to median, that's that middle score. I think it's helpful to cross them off to find the middle. Now we have 7 numbers, which means we'll only end up with 1 in the middle. So we won't have to do any averaging. So low, high, low, high, low, high. So we have 3 scores down here and 3 scores up here. So the middle score is 28. And since there's an odd number of scores, that means there will be only 1 median. We won't have to average it. Moving to mode, that's the one that occurs the most. What score here occurs the most? Well, is there actually any repeats? You guys see any repeats? I do not see any repeats, so your answer here would be no mode. All right, you made it through your homework, or the lesson, excuse me. The lesson was just a little bit longer today, but I wanted to show you a lot of different scenarios, problems that have more than one mode, problems where we have to average the medians, problems where you have no mode, so you're ready for all of those situations. So you have 2 homework problems here. We're week 3, Monday. So you're given a set of data for each of these. You're going to find range, mean, median, mode. Remember, order them first. I have a lot of students, they'll just take this and they'll do 6 minus 12, and then they pick the middle number as the one that's in the middle here. No, it has to be the middle when it's least to greatest. So order the data and then find these 4 answers for each of them. So for each problem, you'll have range, mean, median, and mode. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.